Live from Ball State's election headquarters, this is a special edition of NewsLink Indiana, BSU Votes 2016.
Good evening and welcome to a special edition of NewsLink Indiana. I'm Emerson Lehman.
And I'm Rachel Russell. Thank you for joining us for our post-election show. Following the results of the presidential election, some Ball State students found a peaceful way to express their opinion. NewsLink Indiana reporter Brittany Ehrman has the story.
Less than 24 hours after Donald Trump was declared the winner of the 2016 presidential election, Muncie community members and Ball State students came together to make their voices heard.
It's going to be a very, very scary 4 years.
Stories and poems,
Aristotle, Alexander the Great,
signs and posters brought people together to demonstrate kindness and inclusion. Levi Todd is a junior at Ball State and organized the event. He says the purpose was to show the opposition of Trump's leadership and bring light to a dark situation.
There is a significant potential for justice and, kind of like a faith in humanity, I guess, to be restored.
Todd stressed that this would be a peaceful demonstration and nothing more, and UPD was at the event to make sure of it. And it was a peaceful protest that Reverend Seth Carrier-Ladd called eye-opening.
Just to hear people's stories and to hear their fear and they're scared for their lives in some cases. It's just a reminder of how important it is that we combat the hate and ignorance that is being spread by people who are going to be in power in our country.
A country that Ball State student Emily Kipp says has disappointed her. But she said the event was empowering and a confirmation that she's not alone.
I feel like this is a time where everybody needs people, and this unity was just really nice to see.
I love every single one of you. We will get through this.
Now, despite different messages and shouts around campus from people that were pro-Trump, the people here remained peaceful and followed through with their message. In Muncie, Brittany Ehrman, NewsLink, Indiana.
The organizer of the protest also posted on the Facebook event page that people are more than welcome to use it as a resource thread or a safe space to share their opinion.
And last night, Donald Trump wasn't the only Republican candidate with a big win.
NewsLink's Tony Sanlaven has the breakdown of Indiana's prominent races. Tony, what can you tell us?
Well, Rachel, Emerson, good evening. Good evening, everyone. We had no shortage of excitement in last night's elections, especially here in Indiana. Todd Young was able to pull away from Evan Bayh for the Senate seat. The margin was a little surprising, not so much the outcome. Curtis Hill won the Attorney General position by a very wide margin, but the surprises really came when Jennifer McCormick beat incumbent Glenda Ritz in the superintendent race and when Lieutenant Governor Eric Holcomb beat Democrat John Gregg in the gubernatorial race. All along, the polls favored Ritz and Gregg. They got close as Election Day drew closer, but when it mattered, McCormick and Holcomb pulled through to win their respective races. And now, guys, those races were not the only ones that saw some incorrect poll predictions. We certainly saw plenty of that in the presidential race as well. Donald Trump won almost all of the major battleground states, even though late polls before Election Day really were predicting otherwise. Max Lewis is over at Cardinal Metrics to break down Trump's victory last night. Max?
Yeah, Tony, that's right. Those polls did not turn out the way they were supposed to. Now, if we take a look at our map right here, you can see we have these teal states right here, Arizona, Michigan, and New Hampshire. Those states have not officially come in yet, but Arizona and Michigan are projected to go Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton is winning by about 0.2% in New Hampshire, and she is projected to win there. Now, how Donald Trump got to that 270, here's how he did it. The battleground states, Florida, North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, those were all key states to him winning, as well as Wisconsin and Michigan. Ohio and North Carolina and Florida were all battleground states, pretty close in the election, but here's what did it in. Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Wisconsin and Michigan, that's part of Clinton's, what we call the blue wall. These are Rust Belt states of the Midwest, as well as Pennsylvania, part of the New England area of the United States. Now, Pennsylvania was expected to go to Clinton, but that did not happen. Wisconsin and Michigan were closer races, but these states only went to Republicans. They only went to Republicans in 1988 when George H.W. Bush was president. So those were unexpected victories for Trump, but they did lead him to 270 electoral votes. Back to you guys at the desk.
And thank you, Max. Tony, your final thoughts on the turnout for Republicans yesterday?
Well, it certainly was a big night for the GOP. We saw a lot of victories. They're going to have control of the House and the Senate as well as the White House, which means ultimately they'll get control of the Supreme Court as well, considering the vacancy that needs to be filled in light of the late Antonin Scalia. But we've kind of seen this kind of control before. 3 times it's really stuck out in history, and all 3 times really has not brought much good as far as history is concerned. The last time we saw it was in 2001 when George W. Bush was president. The Republicans had control of all 3 branches of government, and we saw the recession come in 2008. Before that, we saw it in the 1930s during the Franklin D. Roosevelt era. The Democrats had control of the government then, and we saw World War II. Then before that, 1928, Republicans had it again. That led to the Great Depression. So history has not been kind to one party controlling all 3 branches of government.
And while we certainly hope that this is not an instance where history does repeat itself, Tony, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton gave a speech to supporters and staffers in New York earlier today. This comes after Clinton called President-elect Donald Trump and conceded the election. As she took the stage amid applause, supporters in the audience cried. Clinton called her defeat painful, but encouraged her supporters to keep an open mind towards Trump's presidency. She urged her supporters to accept the results of the election, saying, quote, "I still believe in America and I always will." Clinton also had a message for the little girls in the audience, telling them that they are valuable and should follow their dreams. Clinton's running mate Tim Kaine spoke before Clinton and praised her dedication and loyalty.
President Obama spoke earlier today in front of the White House Rose Garden. Obama said he was heartened by President-elect Donald Trump's call for unity. He also praised Clinton's campaign nomination, saying it sends a message to daughters nationwide. Obama spoke about the election, saying that the process was long and left many happy and many others not. He also gave some advice to young people and first-time voters.
To the young people who got into politics for the first time and may be disappointed by the results, I just want you to know you have to stay encouraged. Don't get cynical. Don't ever think you can't make a difference.
And going forward, Obama expressed confidence in the future of America. And Rachel, one thing I am very confident about, it seems like this fall weather is here to stay.
Yeah, it has definitely been pretty chilly out. Caleb, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Rachel and Emerson, these colder temperatures are going to be the theme over the next 7 days, but we're going to see plenty of sunshine like we did today. Take a look down McKinley Avenue at the Bell Tower. Plenty of sunshine out there today, but colder temperatures are on the way. I'm going to talk about that here in the next half an hour. Clear skies, cool down on the way, and the slight chance for some rain over the weekend. I'll have your full 7-day forecast in the next half an hour that will cure your election blues. Emerson and Rachel, back to you at the desk.
Ball State is in the 3rd phase of its presidential search.
And we'll have more of Ball State students' reactions to Donald Trump. All of this and more after the break.
Doesn't see race. Love is love.
So I've come up with a family emergency plan.
Great. What is it?
It's difficult to talk about, so I'm not telling you.
How will we know what to do?
You won't.
I'm so glad I won't have to remember anything.
And me too. Thanks for this, sweetie.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Welcome back to NewsLink Indiana. And after last night's upset victory by outsider and now President-elect Donald Trump, many Ball State students don't know what is to come next. The shock is still settling in, and the result has left some fearful. NewsLink's Brenton Roy reports.
I pledge to every citizen of our land that I will be president for all Americans.
President-elect Donald Trump. Those words are a godsend to some or a nightmare for others. It has now been almost a full day since the polls closed and a long night of ballot counting, but the shock is starting to settle in, leaving some Ball State students worried about the future.
Well, this morning the sun did come up and pigs are not flying, but Donald Trump is the president-elect. I'm going to go ahead and catch up with some students to get their reaction on the surprise victory of Donald Trump. I am standing here with sophomore Samantha, and can you just tell me your reaction from last night?
I'm terrified, really. I really am. I'm actually really scared being not only part of the LGBT community and a woman. I'm scared my rights.
I'm standing here with Andrea, a freshman. Can I get your reaction of what happened last night?
Yes, definitely. Something that I really noted was that there were a lot of votes for Trump, and that's something that really shouldn't have occurred given his history, given the things that we know now, given the fact that rape charges were recently dropped. These are things that shouldn't have happened, but that we allowed, and now we're going to have to deal with the consequences of what happened yesterday.
I mean, yeah, I think once I walk outside and the first thing you see is the color of my skin, so that's one thing that it'll always be something that affects me. And I think just knowing that it's we have to deal with it on another level now, and not just racism, but sexism and everything else. It's something it's highlighted now, and now we have to deal with it for the next 4 years.
It is definitely a dawn of a new day here in America that has left some students scared and uneasy for the future. In Muncie, I'm Brenton Roy, NewsLink, Indiana.
Thank you, Brenton. And Donald Trump's inauguration date is set for Friday, January 20th, 2017.
The presidential election has come to a close, and while the nation has found who their president will be, Ball State is still in the process of finding their own. The third phase of this search is now in full effect. NewsLink Indiana's Jayla Washington has the story.
It's been nearly a year since Ball State has been without a president.
That's what they do in the war.
Last night, students may have been preoccupied with an on-campus election watch party, but that doesn't mean they aren't thinking about the politics of their university.
I feel like we've been hurting as a college because we've been lacking leadership.
I don't really mind. I think the university is running just fine without it.
Well, the university may be doing just this, but Matt Momper, chair of the Presidential Search Committee, says they're taking their job very seriously.
Diverse committee structure that we have of representation, it really just adds to the flavor, and it really adds to all the perspectives that represent a university.
Momper says that the search may seem lengthy from the outside looking in, but that's not the case. Here's what the committee has done so far. Back in August, the committee received input from Ball State community members, prioritized presidential qualifications, created university president leadership profiles, and had an open discussion with interested candidates. This fall, they've narrowed down the application pool, and now interviews will begin.
I feel like I'm looking forward to getting out of that state of transition and just finding a way for the college to move on and find like an actual path.
And while on this quest for self-rediscovery, both students and the committee have high expectations for their next president.
Definitely better communication within the university.
You're going to have a person that is the face of the university.
This new outlook may have to do with trying to avoid another abrupt situation, like when the university's former president was terminated unexpectedly.
With them making efforts to inform the students of what's going on, I feel like they're trying to remedy that whole situation.
I greatly appreciate the Presidential Search Committee. The amount of time that they have given is just thank you, thank you, thank you.
He says Ball State could have a president before all the leaves fall off the trees, or later. In Muncie, Jayla Washington, NewsLink, Indiana.
The updates on the search, you can find more information on Ball State's presidential search website.
Despite the polarizing nature of this election, Delaware County's voter turnout was less than it was in 2012. Just over 46,000 Delaware County residents cast ballots in yesterday's election. According to Delaware County's unofficial election results, voter turnout was almost 51%. This is just below normal for the county. For the 2012 election, almost 89,000 people in Delaware County were registered to vote, and over 45,000 of them voted. That was a 51% voter turnout, which is also lower than the 56% voter turnout in 2008. According to the Star Press, President-elect Donald Trump dominated in precincts with the highest voter turnout. Hillary Clinton won more than 70% of the vote in parts of Muncie. The Star Press reported. Overall, Republican candidates swept most of the local races in yesterday's election.
Republican Jennifer McCormick defeated Glenda Ritz last night in the race to become superintendent of Indiana schools. McCormick was one of many GOP victories in last night's election. McCormick, now the superintendent of Yorktown schools, had been critical of the way Ritz managed the education department. This is an important time for this position as Indiana is working to replace the I-STEP. According to the Indy Star, McCormick said, quote, "We have a lot of work to do." The Yorktown School Board will begin to look for a new superintendent to replace McCormick soon.
And cooler temperatures seem like they're here to stay. Find out the next chance we could soon see some precipitation.
We'll have your full weather forecast after the break.
Can you help me with this? My new dad teaches me all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
He helps me with homework.
That would be 3.6795.
Thanks.
Yep.
He helps me with my decision making.
I wouldn't use this one. Ever.
And he's even teaching me how to drive.
And that's why cars have bumpers.
I'm learning so much.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are.
They're coming. Places, everybody.
Light check. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Everything looks good on our end.
And lights.
Come alive with the forest. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
Don't wait. Communicate. Make your emergency plan today.
And welcome back to NewsLink Indiana. And Rachel, the sun was shining today, a little bit breezy, kind of chilly, but I'm looking forward to seeing what the weekend has.
Yeah, Caleb, can you tell us what to expect?
Yeah, so you mentioned those fall-like temperatures earlier in the forecast, and that is going to be the theme throughout the next 7 days. Plenty of sunshine shining down on the scramble light today and this afternoon. We had a little bit of cloud cover this morning, but it began to clear off about 9 a.m. Current conditions outside, we're at 43 degrees, seeing those clear skies, winds out of the west-northwest at around 6 miles per hour. And high temperatures for today. Here in Muncie, we all got to 55 degrees. The state capital got to 56. Terre Haute and Bloomington, they both got to 57 degrees respectively. Current satellite radar situation, we're not seeing anything here locally, but in the bi-state area, we saw this precipitation move through our area earlier this morning, dropping just a little bit of rain, but this high pressure is really dominating our area. And what I'm taking a look at here next is this low pressure system beginning to move into the south, and that's going to affect us during the overnight on Thursday and into Friday. But overnight tonight, we're going to see clear skies, cold temperatures approaching that freeze temperature, 37 degrees, mostly clear conditions. And this is going to be the latest frost that we see here in Muncie. For record, October 26, 1967 was when the latest frost had occurred. We're going to see that here in our 7-day forecast. Your bus stop forecast looks like this: 38 degrees by 7 a.m., 58 degrees by the time you get the kids off the bus, but it is going to be very windy tomorrow. Precision cast for tomorrow. We're going to see that cold front begin to creep down by the overnight hours and a few high-level clouds beginning to build back in behind it for tomorrow. A high of 63 degrees. Those winds are going to be out of the southwest at around 10 to 20 miles per hour, unfortunately, so it is going to be gusty. 7-day forecast looks like this: Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Plenty of sunshine. Temperatures are going to drop down into the low 50s, but Monday, temperatures are going to begin to work their way back up through the 50s and a slight chance for some rain during the overnight hours on Tuesday. But you guys, nothing really that menacing during the overnight and early morning on Tuesday, so this forecast is fantastic for the next 7 days, in my opinion.
Well, it looks pretty fantastic to us, Caleb. Thank you for that look into weather. And sports is up next. DeMarcus, what can we expect?
We previewed the matchup between Ball State and St. Louis. They're going to be opening up their season Friday on the road at St. Louis. And the Ball State football team cannot hang on to an early lead as they lose to Eastern Michigan. What this means for the Cardinal season coming up.
Here's to the things that can keep us safe. Those we use all the time with hardly a thought. Those that are silently standing by to save our lives. And now, those that we carry with us everywhere we go. Many mobile devices will now bring you wireless emergency alerts, real-time information directly from local sources you know and trust. With the unique sound and vibration, you'll be in the know, wherever you are.
Cook foods to the right temperature using a food thermometer. 3,000 Americans will die from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
So, I got this new family, and I don't know what it is about this one, but she can't seem to put down that toy all day long. Tap, 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 tap. Oh, and she even talks to it. She talks to that more than she talks to him. What's up, bro? Nice shirt. Who's she talking to? Her mom? She talks to her mom a lot.
You wanted to be a teacher when you were little, but things changed. Teaching didn't seem that cool anymore, so you decided to become something else. But what would your 12-year-old self say? Amazing things are happening in teaching, so it's time to put it back on your list. Don't try to convince yourself otherwise. You had it right the first time.
Good evening. Ball State football's path to bowl eligibility got a whole lot tougher last night. The Cardinals now need to win both of their last two games in order to be eligible for a bowl game after losing to Eastern Michigan on Tuesday. After jumping out to a 21-0 lead, the Cardinals went on to turn the ball over 5 times in the final 3 quarters en route to a 48-41 loss. Despite the miscues, Ball State took the lead on a touchdown from Riley Neal with less than 2 minutes to go in the game, but the defense could not hold on. Eastern marched down the field and scored a touchdown to win the game. 3 of Ball State's 5 conference losses have now come by a touchdown or less.
But again, it comes down to us making too many mistakes, turning the ball over too many times. We're up +3 early in that game, and the turnover margin, we end up losing it 5-3. That can't happen. I'm not going to make any excuse for it. We simply have to find a way to win games, to finish games. It's an attitude and it's a mindset. It obviously starts with me.
We really wanted to win this one so that before we could only win, we'd have to win 1 out of the next 2. But, we are where we are, so we got to win the next 2. And, we're going to come in tomorrow and come ready to work so we can try to beat Toledo. And then after we beat Toledo, try to beat Miami of Ohio and go from there.
The Cardinals are at Toledo next Wednesday. Meanwhile, Ball State men's basketball is gearing up for its regular season opener. The Cardinals will be at St. Louis on Friday to tip off their highly anticipated 2016-2017 season. Ball State defeated the University of Indianapolis in an exhibition last Thursday to get the ball rolling. Newcomers Tajay Teague and Taylor Persons both finished with double-doubles in the win. The Cardinals have now turned their attention to St. Louis. The Billikens are led by new coach Travis Ford, who came over from being let go at Oklahoma State. Head coach James Whitford and company are doing their best to prepare for Friday's games, but he admits the Cardinals don't really know what to expect.
We don't have any game film on them, and they have a new coach. So now it's not like you can watch last year's film and get a sense for the way they're going to play. You know, we're trying to watch Oklahoma State film, and we're trying to watch personnel on St. Louis from last year and piece together a puzzle that, quite frankly, you know, we don't know that much about. So it's an unusual game. There aren't many in college that you play where you know so little about the opponent as we do this one.
Delta football earned a sectional championship under first-year head coach Travis Overholt last week with the win against conference foe Mount Vernon. Now they'll have to defeat another familiar foe if they want to win their first regional title since 2001 on Friday. The Eagles will face off against undefeated number 1 in 4A Roncalli, the team that ended their season in the regional round last year by a score of 49-12. Delta knows that they must play their best football Friday in order to pull off the upset and keep their season alive.
We took care of the football very well. We're made to run the football, and that's what we did. And so when you're executing very well at what you do, you got to be proud of your guys.
When we carry the ball 40 times a game, I mean, we're controlling the clock. And, I mean, it's usually working in our favor because we've stressed so much on running the ball this year.
We're working on, reading your keys, don't get sucked in, don't let the ball go over your head. We think we do that, we can be very competitive.
We played them last year. We just got to fix minor things and work on our running game and work on our passing game.
Just another game. We're not asking you to be the best team in the state of Indiana. We're just asking you to be the best team on the field that night and play your best football.
Well, thank you very much for that look into sports, DeMarcus.
And coming up after the break, we'll get one last look at that weather forecast.
Hey, did you know 2.4 million loving cats and dogs in shelters and rescues need our help to find a home? Let's go to the shelterpetproject.org and meet if you are in a shelter near you. Harlow, oh, she's one great listener who loves to hear all your stories. My kind of cat. Cerulo is a sweet, goofy boy who's eager to please. Sounds just like another dog I know. So go to the shelterpetproject.org, search your local shelters and rescues, and go for a cuddle with your next best friend. Adopt.
Sure, I look cute now, but when my owner lost his job, it was rough. I was living on the street, and one night, me and this Cocker Spaniel got into it so bad, I wound up looking like an ice cream cone. I cried a little bit, but thankfully I got rescued, so I'm running, I'm jumping, all back to my old self. And I'm ready to give unconditional love, even if you put a lampshade on my head.
There's one thing you can never have sex without.
It's not something you buy.
Or something you take.
In fact, there's only one way to get it.
It has to be given to you, freely.
It's consent.
Because sex without it isn't sex.
It's rape. Consent.
If you don't get it, you don't get it. It's on us to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Welcome back to NewsLink Indiana. And Caleb, how about one final look at that weather?
Yeah, so your 7-day forecast is looking fantastic, but I mentioned those frost and that freeze. Saturday and Sunday night, overnight, temperatures are going to drop down below the frost level, which is 36 degrees. We're going to see 31 and 33 degrees respectively. So if you have any plants outdoors, make sure to cover them up or bring them inside during the overnight on Saturday and Sunday.
Well, we will be sure to do that. And that is all for tonight from NewsLink Indiana. Be sure to watch tomorrow night at 9 p.m. right here on Cardinal Vision.
And be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Have a good night.